Hey Chaotic Crew, Brian here. I've got the last of the Tarkir Dragonstorm Precon review, upgrade, and giveaways. That's right, we are giving away one Precon from this set of your choice anywhere in the US. Make sure you comment on all of our Precon reviews for this set. The comment on this one, what is your favorite Teamer card? It can be any card, right? It can be, one of the new Edge keys. It could be the Ultimatum in Teamer colors. It could be Animar. Maybe it's your Rennie of the Unwritten. Maybe you're a big Dragon fan, and you're here because you want to see your Rennie. Comment whatever your favorite Teamer card is. Make sure to comment on all the other videos. And then next Friday on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/chaoticcommandermtg, then we are going to be going live. We're going to announce who won on there, so make sure to check that out, and make sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any other sweet deck text that we've got going on here. But let's just dive into the Temur Roar Precon deck. This is clearly a dragon deck. The human leading the charge is Eshki, Temur's Roar. Temur, for a 2/2 human warrior, whenever you cast a creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on Eshki. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. If that spell's power is 6 or greater, Eshki deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. So, essentially, the goal with Eshki is you want to be casting big power spells. This is a big theme in Tarkir. It was a big theme in the first Tarkir for the Temur clan. Very good card, but with the deck, I don't know. There's not very many dragons in this deck that actually go above 6 power. So not really going to be proccing that off a ton. Pretty much this is just having a card engine in your command zone. I think most people, if you ask the best commander to run, it's the alternate dragon commander, or Rennie of the Unwritten. And that's who we're having take the helm today when we're reviewing and upgrading. Just think is a better commander for the deck in general because there's more synergy for this card. Rennie is a 7-mana 7/7 with flying and trample. When it enters or attacks, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a dragon creature from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So instead of having, sub 10 cards that work, you're going to have a lot more. A lot of these cards are dragons. So Rennie's going to, most likely not whiff. You get a free dragon, and then if you can give it haste, they can get another dragon as well. So pretty neat there. There are a couple ways to do that, but we may be adding some more here. Another new card, Deceptive Frostkite. It's a 2-mana 1/1 flying dragon in blue. You can have it enter as a copy of a creature you control with power 4 or greater, except it's a dragon in addition to its other types, and it also has flying. Very solid card there. Always great to have those clone effects. And being a dragon, nevertheless, if you could have it enter as a copy of your commander, get a second trigger off of it, then it sacrifices itself due to state-based actions. So just very strong there. Hammerhead Tyrant is a fantastic 6-mana 6/6 flyer. Whenever you cast a spell, return up to 1 target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value less than or equal to that spell's mana value to its owner's hand. I think this is definitely a lot fairer version of a Hullbreaker Horror, just in dragons, so good to have here. Parapet Thrasher, 4-mana 4/3 flyer. Whenever one or more dragons you control deal combat damage to an opponent, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Destroy an artifact. This creature deals 4 damage to each other opponent, or you can exile a top card of library. You may play it this turn. That last one may be tough in a deck with lots of high mana value creatures, but good to have these modes in general. Thundermane Dragon, 4-mana 4/4 flying. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells with power 4 or greater from the top of your library. If you cast a creature spell this way, it gains haste until end of turn. Very cool there. Broodcaller Scourge, another new dragon, 7-mana 5/7. Whenever one or more dragons you control deal combat damage to a player, you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to that damage from your hand onto the battlefield. So very, very good there to, I guess, keep pumping stuff out from your hand onto the battlefield. But if you have 7 mana and casting this, you can probably cast everything else that's in your hand, and your hand may not be too full. Kaya the Tidestar, reprint, 6-mana 5/5. When it dies, you gain control of a creature. Itsushi's a 4-mana 4/4. Flying Trample, when it dies, you create 3 treasure tokens, or you exile the top 2 cards of your library. Till the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. So, if you're stuck on a low amount of mana, you can leave up Atsushi as a blocker, and get 3 treasures if it dies to get your commander the next turn. Dragon Master Outcast, 1 mana. It pretty much makes a 5/5 dragon each turn, but you have to control 6 or more lands, so not ideal. Gadrak, the Crown Scourge, is actually pretty neat with your commander. It's 3 mana 5/4, right? So you can 3 mana get a counter on Eshki and draw a card, but not really amazing otherwise. It can't attack unless you control 4 more artifacts. And at the beginning of your end step, create a treasure token for each non-token creature that died this turn. So it doesn't really have a ton of synergy with the deck, except for being able to be a cheap, big creature that you can cast with Eshki. Glorybringer is a 5 mana 4/4 with flying and haste, and then you can exert it as it attacks. When you do, it deals 4 damage to target non-dragon and opponent controls. So pretty good card there. Limited removal on a stick, right? You just lose this for a turn. Not bad. Hellkite Courser, fantastic with Urania at the helm. When it enters, you may put a commander you own from the command zone on the battlefield. It gains haste. Return to the command zone at the beginning of the next end step. So really strong here to get out your commander maybe a turn early. And then obviously the value you get from your commander entering and then attacking makes that well worth it. Lathliss is great too. Whenever a non-token dragon you control enters, create a 5/5 with flying. And it also has 1 in the red to give dragons you control +1/+0 until end of turn. So very strong there. Leyline Tyrant's a 4 mana 4/4. You don't lose unspent red mana as steps in phase's end. When it dies, you may pay any amount of red mana. When you do, it deals that much damage to any target. So a good way to sort of build up some mana, right? If you can get this out turn 3 or 4, then you should definitely be able to get out your commander by the next turn if you don't do anything. Nesting Dragon, 5 mana 5/4. Very strong, has flying, and it also has landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you make a 0/2 red dragon with defender. And when it dies, you make a 2/2 dragon with flying and red. This token gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So a good way to get a lot of enter the battlefield triggers with dragons. Cards like Dragon Tempest are really good at that, and we'll get to that card as well later. Nogi Draco Zealot is a really good card here to make dragon spells, cost 1 less to cast for 3 mana, but it also can become a 5/5 dragon with flying as well, so pretty cool there. Opportunistic Dragon is a 4 mana 4/3. When it enters, you choose a human or artifact opponent controls. For as long as this creature remains on the battlefield, it gain control of that permanent, loses all abilities, and can't attack or block. This is neat in the Precon if you're playing against other Precons, because other Precons are going to have a strong human commander potentially. But yeah, other than that, you're not always going to be playing against human decks. Artifacts, sure, you can take control of over. This isn't a bad card at all, but I just have never been a fan of it. Scourge of the Throne, though, I have been a massive fan and glad that they keep reprinting this one, so it's so cheap. This card used to be like $20, and now it's, less than $1. 6 mana 5/5 with Dethrone and flying. Dethrone, just whenever it attacks a player with the most life or tied for the most life, it gets a 1/1 counter. And then whenever it attacks the first time each turn, if it's attacking the player with the most life or tied for the most life, you essentially get an extra combat. So love that. Skargan Hellkite, 5 mana 4/4 with Riot, so it can come in with haste or a 1/1 counter, and it also has flying, and you can deal 2 damage divided as you among 1 or 2 targets for 4 mana. Only if it has a 1/1 counter on it, though. So not bad. It was good and limited in that standard, but yeah, 5 mana for Stormbreath Dragon, 4/4 flying, haste, protection from white. You can also give it 3 1/1 counters for 8 mana. And when it becomes monstrous, it deals damage to each opponent equal to the number of cards in that player's hand. So if you need that extra damage, you can do it if you just have the mana lying around. Typically, you're not going to be doing that, but having that protection from white can be nice. Taria Mauler, just a 3 mana, dragon. So I guess there's that. Territorial Hellkite, 4 mana 6/5. It chooses an opponent at random that it didn't attack last turn, and then if you can't choose an opponent this way, so if it's 1-on-1 and it's attacked that opponent last turn, you just tap this on each of your combats, so not ideal. Thunderbreak Regent, 4 mana 4/4, that essentially lightning bolts anything that targets a dragon. Vengeful Ancestor, when it enters or attacks, you go to creature, and then whenever a go to creature attacks, it deals 1 damage to its controller. Varric's Blade Wing is just an, you know, a 4/4 that you can pay 3 mana to get another 4/4, but they're both legendary, so take that as you will. A Tarkir's fantastic though, 7 mana 6/4, giving your dragons double strike, and the other Dragon Lord just an 8/8 that when it enters will deal 5 damage among any number of creatures or planeswalkers, so pretty nice there. Harbinger of the Hunt is 5 mana 5/3. It can deal damage to creatures without flying, it can deal damage to creatures with flying, so neat there. And then Sarkhan Soulflame, probably one of the best reprints of the deck, I would say. Dragon spells cost 1 less, and then whenever your dragon you control enters, you may have Sarkhan become a copy of it until end of turn, except its name is Sarkhan, and it's legendary in addition to its other types. So, say you have Sarkhan on the battlefield, you play your commander a turn early, right? You get your commander's trigger to get a free dragon from the top of your library. Sarkhan is turning into a non-legendary Urani essentially, because its name is no longer Urani, it's still Sarkhan, and then you can attack with Sarkhan and get another trigger off Urani, and if Urani has haste, then you can also attack with Urani and get another trigger off Urani. So really great synergy with the commander here. Steel Hellkite, 6 mana 5/5, and you can pay mana to destroy each non-land permanent with mana value X whose controller was dealt combat damage by this creature this turn, activate only once each turn. Stormstreak Feral from the main set, it has a Omen card, so when you cast it, you shuffle it into its owner's library, and you discard a card to draw 2 cards, which we've seen a lot of those spells, but it's also a 5 mana 3/3 with flying and haste. It can also buff itself. Dragonlord Servant makes dragons cost 1 less. Rapacious Dragon makes 2 treasures when it enters. And then Whirlwind Stormbrood, another card from the main set. The Omen is to pay 3 mana to put 3 1/1 counters on target creature. And then 5 mana, Flash Flying, you may cast sorceries, and dragons spells though they had flash, so that can be pretty nice there. Sorcery cards, we got a new one here with Will the Temur. Choose one if you control a commander. As you cast it, you may choose both instead. Make a token that's a copy of target permanent, except it's a 4/4 dragon creature with flying in addition to its other types. And then target player draws cards equal to the greatest mana value among permanents you control. That is, I thought I was actually really low on this card. I didn't think it was the best, but I realized that you can create a copy of any permanent. That's even opponents. You can make a copy of a land if you want to. You can make a copy of a Smothering Tide. You can make a copy of whatever the best permanent is in the battlefield. Maybe your opponent has a really big creature or good blocker. Copy it, right? Those are the best ways to do that. And then you then get to draw at least 4 cards if your commander's out. But with your commander being 7 mana, you may not have your commander out. So, you know, you can either pay 6 mana to maybe draw 4 cards or 6 mana to make a token copy. It's okay. Better in decks with cheaper commanders, but good to have nevertheless. Zenith Festival is also a new card. 2 mana, an X to exile the top X cards of your library. You may play them until the end of your next turn. And also has Harmonize for the same cost. So great to get this in the graveyard, right? And then can make it really cheap, but not amazing. It's essentially just like 1 turn of, you know, a second hand or something. So it's not amazing. Become the Avalanche is 6 mana. Draw a card for each creature you control at power 4 or greater. Then creatures you control get +X/+X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. This is neat if you can give your creatures trample, but this deck doesn't really give a lot of your creatures trample, so not really ideal for that, right? You kind of need some more evasion. In a dragon deck, of course, you do have a lot of flyers, which is helpful. But, yeah, just something to think about. Blasphemous Act is a classic board wipe. Storm's Wrath is not bad in the deck, but a lot of our dragons actually have a low toughness in here. So Storm's Wrath dealing 4 damage to each creature and each planeswalker kind of hurts us too. Selvala Stampede, though, an amazing card. Just a heads up, if you're playing against Selvala Stampede, always choose free. Right, starting with you, each player votes for wild or free. Reveal cards to the top of your library until you reveal a creature card for each wild vote. So with wild, they're always going to get stuff from their deck. Free, they're always going to get stuff out of their hand. Either way, they're probably going to have a bomb in their hand, right, that they want to get out. And you can kind of tell, oh, I'm going to get, like, if they choose free, they messed up. They need to always go wild. And you need to always say free because you want to get as many cards out of their hand as possible. That's definitely the ones that you got to get rid of. And then Farsi, Kodama's Reach Migration Path has some ramp in here. Pretty solid. Enchantments, Reflections of Lit Jara. You copy all your dragons that you're casting, so not bad there. Frontier Siege gets you some mana each turn, or you can have it as a removal side, which is pretty cool, right? If you already are fixed on mana, play this as a removal spell, and then when your commander is getting dragons, they can start fighting other creatures. Temur Ascendancy to give your creatures haste and draw you cards. Dragon Tempest to give your creatures haste and to deal damage. Breaching Dragonstorm is going to be... It's a cool card. You can cast spells for free. And you can keep doing this, right? But it's pretty expensive, and you're not going to be getting the best value out of it for 5 mana, right? Because you're only going to be... Unless you're loaded up with... 5, 6, 7 drops, they're not gonna get the most value out of this. Encroaching Dragonstorm, 4 mana ramp spell that it also can bounce up to the hand when a dragon enters, so that's kind of nice. And then Elemental Bond draws you lots of cards too here. We do have some instants. Beast Within's great, Reality Shift, Rapid Hybridization, Spit Flame, and Chaos Warp as our removal pieces. And then we do have Draconic Lore to draw us even more cards. Artifacts, Dragon's Horde can tap for any color, and it can also, draw us cards if we play dragons. So in a dragon deck, fantastic. Then you got, of course, the classic Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, Fellwar Stone, and then 2 Talismans. And then we got 37 lands. Kessel Wolf Run is a great add here to give something trample and +X+O. So we're going to have lots of lands in here, so buffing up your commander could be the, finish off someone with commander damage. Other cards in here that are great. Temple of the Dragon Queen. It's newer land, and it only taps for 1 color, but it can tap for the color you need it to if you have a dragon in your hand. Other than that, though, we do have the landscape, which is always nice. I love these over the Evolving Wilds, Terraforming Expanse. Then obviously your basics there, and a pretty good job is done for these precons for the land base. You're typically not going to knock at the colors you need, so that's always great. But before we dive into really what the cards I'm taking out are, what the cards I'm taking in, I just want to say that this deck can struggle a bit. If you're running Eshki as the commander, it's a bit fractured of a deck, right? You don't have a ton going on synergistically, except for your deck does stuff and your commander may help you out on that. I think the deck is definitely better with your Rennie, ramping up to your Rennie and then getting out dragons, but you really need to build more around your Rennie as well. So this deck, probably out of the box, is maybe the weakest out of the whole bunch, but it's probably going to be the most popular just because it's dragons and it has so much good dragon support in it that I think you'll be hard pressed to see that it's not the most popular. But cards we're taking out, let's go ahead and start here. Dragon Master Outcast. It's just not doing enough, right? Even though it's only 1 mana, you're going to have to wait for 6 till you're on turn 6, right, to get this out. Eshki I took out. Sure, it is drawing you cards for a lot of the cards you're playing, but you really want to be playing Eshki to also deal with that damage, right? And I think because your commander is also not casting spells, it doesn't really work with Eshki a lot of the time either. So we can just replace it with cards that can do better. Gadrick as well, like I said, you're not doing a whole lot with Gadrick when it enters, so it just kind of sits there. Kaiga the Tidestar is neat. You can take control of a commander, but I've never been a fan of doing that. It's kind of mean if they can't remove, the commander or anything like that. So I also took Opportunistic Dragon out. Leyline Tyrant's nice. This has kind of been like a mono red dragon deck, and I kind of tried to help with that a little bit, taking out a bunch of these red cards. So Leyline Tyrant I decided to take out as well. Skargan Hellkite doesn't do enough for 5 mana. It's just a 5 mana 4/4 flyer with haste, essentially, or a 5/5 if you can give it haste already. It's not amazing. Tarian Mauler, don't really know what it's doing in this deck. It's just a 3 mana dragon that they threw in here. Territorial Hellkite is nice, but on 1v1s you can really struggle with this. And then also this can make you a target. People can get upset about getting slapped for 6 damage, even though it's not gonna hit them the following turn. And then I took Varric's Bladewing out. Never been a huge fan of this card. It's not bad, but 4 mana 4/4 just doesn't do it, and then 3 mana 4/4 just doesn't do it either. The 7 mana for 2 dragons isn't amazing. I took out Become the Avalanche just because we don't really have a lot of ways to give Trample in the deck, and you know it's a win more card really. It's an overrun, sure. You're gonna draw maybe 2 or 3 cards, and then all your stuff will get +4/+4, but that's not enough to end the game or close the game out. You may be able to kill one person with this, but then you immediately become the threat if you weren't already the threat. So, yeah, not amazing. Zenith Festival I took out just because you only get these cards for an extra turn. And if you really are getting a lot out of this, you're actually losing a lot of value because we have a lot of high mana value cost cards, and we can't really cast all of those if we're exiling, 5 or 6 cards. Draconic Lore, I took out as well. Sure, it's going to cost 4 mana most of the time, but we have more consistent card draw in here that I think will do really well. And then I took Breaching Dragonstorm just because I said it's not really getting a ton of value here. I did put Miram in the sideboard here as like, hey, this is a card you could put in. I think that Miram is a fantastic card, would be a great commander for the deck, or you could have it in the deck as a really strong card. If you are the mindset, or if your play group is very strong, add Miram to the deck 100%. If your play group is more casual, I would definitely not include Miram. Something to keep in mind there. It's a very strong card. But let's go into these, sorceries, instants, enchantments. Added Cultivate. Cultivate's not in the deck, so I added that. Another just ramp piece. Interest Restoration also added. Going to be able to help us get even more lands if we have a creature with power 4 or greater. We added Garrick's Uprising to draw us some cards and to give Trample. Frostcliff Siege is a new card. It can give haste, but if we already have a haste enabler out, and Trample, by the way, if you already have a haste enabler out, we can have instead make it whenever a creature we control do common damage to a player, draw a card. So can potentially draw 3 cards each turn. Very strong there. Monstrous Vortex is really neat here. You're pretty much going to be casting your commander a lot, and when you do, you get the Discover X and you get the commander trigger, so very strong. Rhythm of the Wild, also a great way to give our creatures haste and make it so they can't be countered. Right? We want to make it so that when we cast our commander, it's not countered because it isn't enter the battlefield trigger. So paying 7 mana, we might get blown out. Something to think about there. And then a bunch of creatures, right? Bloodvine Regent from the main set. What Bloodvine Regent does is it has a 3 mana Omen, which is essentially a Cultivate, but it gets 2 basic forests, 1 on the battlefield, 1 into your hand. And then it's just a 5/5, or 4/5 for 5. With flying, whenever it or another dragon you control enters, you gain 3 life. So it's ramp, but you also are gaining life when dragons enter, which is always nice to have a small amount of life gain in your deck, just to keep you alive a few extra turns in some of those heavy combat metas. Dragonborn Champion, fantastic with a deck. Whenever a source you control deals 5 or more damage to a player, draw a card. So obviously itself is a 5/3, so very nice there. Gainax, Astral Hunter, or Gainax, however you want to pronounce it, 3/4 flyer for 5. When it or another dragon enters the battlefield, you make a treasure token. So we're going to have lots of dragons enter. We're going to have lots of treasures enter, and that way if we get board wiped or anything like that happens, we can easily recast our commander, right? Because we're going to be building up this cache of treasures. We also have Goblin Necromancer to help ramp out. Each red and green spell is going to cast 1 less to cast, so that's going to do absolute worlds in this deck. Patron of the Arts, also amazing. When it enters or dies, you make a treasure. Likewise, Swashbuckler Extraordinaire will make a treasure when it enters. And also, when you attack, you can sacrifice 1 or more treasures to give up to that many target creatures double strike. So can make your commander attack for 14 trampling damage. So very, very scary there. Scourge of Valcast right here, an amazing way to sort of double up on this, Dragon Tempest ability to deal damage to stuff. So very, very good there. And then Wrathful Red Dragon. Whenever a dragon you control is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to any target that isn't a dragon. And this is a game winner just with Blasphemous Act, right? You can have this on the battlefield and play Blasphemous Act with like 4 dragons in the battlefield and you just win the game, right? So very, very cool card and strong there. Makes it so your opponents don't want to block your creatures. They also, like Chump Block, they don't want to attack into your board. It's just a very overwhelming card to deal with, and they have to remove it. So really good there. And then lastly in the deck, I added Sarkhan Fireblood. It's a fantastic way to make it so that you can cast more dragons, right? Sure, the +1 is discard to potentially draw. That's okay, but mainly you're going to be using this to ramp, right? Add 2 mana for any combination of colors to cast dragon spells. So then the -7 is nice. You make 4 5/5 dragons. That's not really great unless you have a Scourge of Valkas or a Dragon Tempest on the board. Otherwise, you're just going to be ramping every turn or discarding and drawing every turn with Sarkhan. But you can see I added 1, 2, 3, 4 ways to ramp in this deck. No, excuse me, 5 and 6 and 7 if you count these 3 cheap creatures. So I added 7 more ramp cards. Didn't really take any ramp cards out. So we are just making it to that we're casting our 7 mana commander as early as we can. We want to be casting our commander 2 turns earlier. 3 turns is if we're lucky, right? I don't think that's typically going to happen, but it's possible in this deck, right, to be able to do that. But we are adding so much ramp into the deck to make sure that we can cast our commander as quickly as possible. So that's the main thing, and then we just get great value dragons out of the set. The new dragons are amazing, and some of these other ones we've added are also really strong, so very good there. But I hope you enjoyed the deck tech. This is the last out of the 5. Make sure to comment on each of our Tarkir Dragonstorm Precon reviews, upgrades, and this deck. Just make sure you comment what your favorite Temur card is. Can be, Animar. It can be, the Swarm Lord. Maybe you're super into 40k. Love that. I really like the Eshki from the main set, but maybe we'll build a deck around that, or maybe we'll do another deck tech on the Eshki we took out here. Just let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe the YouTube channel as well. And then a week from this video going live, so it should be the 11th of April, we're going to be giving away one of these precons of your choosing anywhere in the US. And so check that out, twitch.tv/chaotic-commander-mtg. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed all these deck techs. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you next time. Bye.